A stunning new police report shows a group of 10-year-old girls plan to stab a boy to death and make it look like a suicide. That's coming up next on Educated.
Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Hello, everyone. I am Katie Petrick, joined by David Fiorazzo, and this is Educated. I hope, and we both hope, you all had a wunderbar, most stupendous, awesome, spectacular 4th of July weekend, and that everyone's limbs are in place. Now, before we get started, Freedom Project Academy, it's our Judeo-Christian online school. It is currently enrolling for the fall. FPA offers live, anytime, and homeschool courses for students in pre-kindergarten all the way through high school. Visit freedomforschool.com and use the code EDUCATED15 to save 15% on all your courses. Now, David.
Yes.
Speaking of things, losing body parts, or just, hey, we have a big story coming up, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But you also had a very important guest on today on Worldview Matter.
Yes.
Worldview Matter. So who was it?
One of my favorite pastors from Australia. Well, my favorite, actually. I don't know any. I know Dean Dwyer. Anyway, Pastor Dean Dwyer was on, and we talked about the downward spiritual spiral in both America and Australia, and what are some of the patterns, what are some of the things we can learn from why there's less emphasis on faith, why the biblical worldview is defining, and why secularism, the occult, and the radical leftists, why are these things growing and Christianity decreasing? So he's from Australia. He gives us a little bit of information on what's going on there, and there are parallels, of course, to what's going on in America as well. So that's Dean Dwyer. Worldviewmatters.tv is the website, worldviewmatters.tv. Thanks for the plug, as always.
As always. All right, well, let's talk about this. When I first saw the headline, I said, what just happened? It says a crazy story out of Arizona involving 5th grade girls, which, yeah. I mean, 5th grade girls, they can be catty, we'll say. They can be emotional. They can be mean. But this story takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah, and this is kind of another example of, rather than the church or Christianity influencing our culture, we've got the left and secularism and just demonic things. And this is, I guess, not surprising, but disturbing in Arizona there. In Surprise, police report reveals details in a murder plot. Again, as Katie mentioned, these are 5th graders. And they were planning to do this and make it look like a suicide. So let's watch the news story. We've got a video. When we'll come back, we'll talk about it.
Just end him. That was the goal of a group of 10 and 11-year-old girls who, Surprise police say, wanted to kill a boy at school. The motive? He's accused of cheating on one of them, so she wants him dead. The murder plot was simple. According to the police report, 4 5th grade students at Legacy Traditional School's West Surprise campus planned to lure a classmate to the charter school's outside bathroom and stab him in the stomach. And each girl had a role to play to get away with it. One would bring the knife, another would forge a suicide note to make it seem like he took his own life, and someone would act as a lookout while the other carried out the stabbing. And to avoid fingerprints on the murder weapon, they would wear gloves. Documents say the friends came up with the plan during lunch and recess on October 1st. Legacy administrators worked with the school resource officer to investigate when students who overheard the plot came forward. The next day, their backpacks were searched and the suspects were individually questioned with their parents present. All 4 children were then arrested for threatening and disorderly conduct misdemeanor charges. The police report says 3 of the students showed remorse, but the 4th would smile and laugh while making excuses for their actions.
Yeesh.
Wow.
Wow. So these, again, 10 and 11-year-olds So these girls, one of them was, I don't know what happened. There was a breakup, and she was so angry with the boy, 10 or 11-year-old, right? That she just wanted to kill him. So,
That's
and this is just end him. But interesting how, Katie, they got together on this and figured out what each one of them were going to do. Interesting, this plan. And like, for instance, here in the story, to avoid fingerprints on the murder weapon, they would wear gloves. I mean, just these different things, luring him into the bathroom. Yeah. So these things they plotted. So I guess they had intent, right?
yeah,
So they're
they absolutely
arrested.
did.
But yeah, go ahead.
Well, the story it happened October 1st of 2024, so the story didn't just came out now,
Yeah.
long after. But the fact that you were basically 1 month into the school year, so they are still really fourth grade girls. I mean, they're probably all more closer to 10 than they are 11, which we have to think about how their brain is developing. But the fact that they did have such a plot, where did they learn about all of this, everyone? Why is this group of girls hanging out together? Parents, are you aware of, one, what you're showing your children, what they are having access to even understand this? Who are their friends? Because clearly one girl came up with it and then the others came up with, and they all worked together as a team. But what I want to say on the positive is that the only reason this came to light is because another student overheard them and was brave enough to be like, this is serious, and went and told an adult.
Yep.
Who knows what would have happened
Wow.
had that student been like, oh, it's just fifth grade girls being silly.
No.
In this day and age, because of all the access these kids have to everything, they can legitimately, easily figure out a way to off one of their peers.
Yeah, and let's again point, maybe not again, because I'm bringing this up for the first time in quite a while. Video games. Some of these video games are so graphic and just demonic that you get to shoot and murder and kill, and for sport, right? So you've got the video game generation, but also let's back up a little bit and let's talk about everything you can see on TV. I really believe, not necessarily these young girls, maybe possibly, but I believe a lot of adults that are in prison, or maybe some that haven't been caught, they got their ideas from watching a TV program or a movie on how someone put together, the perfect murder or whatever. I really believe, and I hate the fact that Hollywood, I know they're trying to be artistic, and yes, it's just entertainment, right? But there's some really creepy stuff in TV and in movies on how people murder other people, and it's the crazies will try to imitate that.
Absolutely.
So their brains maybe aren't fully developed, but that can also be an excuse.
Well, and the thing is, our brains, even as adults, have just become mush. Like, we have brains
Speak
that are
for yourself.
they're supposed to be fully developed, but they're not. We've become mush. And so, yes, even adults are getting their ideas from what Hollywood is putting out or whatever TikTok videos that you see. But the fact, still, to go back, that a 10-year-old girl, one, is having a relationship with a boy who cheated on her, and she's 10. I don't even want to know what that means or looks like, or what the definition of that is. But to instinctively be like, no, that means I must kill him. Like, to not even... But that's part of the thing. We have a therapist who can maybe explain it a little bit better as to what is going on in their minds.
Licensed clinical therapist Travis Webb says a few factors could give children trouble realizing how serious their actions could really be.
So their brains are underdeveloped. At 10, 11 years old, the female brain is not even quite half developed. The part of the brain that regulates emotion, that kind of talks sense into this, it's early 20s before the female brain is finished developing.
On top of that, Webb says kids are exposed to more violence at a young age than years before because of social media.
2025 is different than 1995, and it's different than 1975, which is different than 1805. They don't really come up with this on their own. They don't think violently. They certainly don't think about gloves and fingerprints and suicide notes.
He says parents should not give kids unrestricted access to the internet and assume they'll be okay.
You have to be a little more aware and a little more vigilant in talking to your kids about what they're seeing on the internet and really helping them.
You know what's fascinating? The way he just said that is that modern parenting is we are like helicopter parents. We're watching their kids. Are their kids being safe over here? Oh my gosh, what are they doing over here? Oh my gosh, they're all over their kids when it comes to like 80% of the things. But that last 20% is, oh, here's a tablet, go off, bye. Yeah. And it's unrestricted, free access. Yeah. And that's where it honestly is the most dangerous, I would argue. It is much more dangerous on the internet than out in the wild that is called Earth, living outdoors, right? And it's just, oh, wow.
And he did make some good points. This was, we didn't deal with this before. I mean, it was just our imaginations and what was on television before the internet and social media, but video games were around. But even back, I think he said the 1800s. Yeah, we didn't have to deal with all this. We human beings were not meant to have all this information, all these distractions, and all these machines, and then to keep up with what's going on around the world. And I mean, entertainment goes way too far, and I think we use that as an excuse. Oh, it's just entertainment. But yeah, get back to the point. People get ideas from entertainment.
Now, speaking of entertainment, I guess that segues into our next story, which my ears still hurt from having to listen to the contents, but hey, don't worry, you will get to too. Fortunately, this story is coming out of Wisconsin. What is happening? We're talking about, I don't know if you pronounce it ZAO, Milwaukee Church, ZAO, MKE Church in Milwaukee. It had a worship team perform a song that they prefaced by saying that there might be a swear word in the song, and then they kind of forgot to mention, or whatever, all of the sexual preferences and glorification, basically, of sinful nature that they included. Now, we are warning you. Your ears may bleed after this. I'm just saying.
Ugh.
This song was written by an artist, Semler, if you all are familiar. Semler is kind of a Christian queer person who wrote a whole album that I think all of us cracked our hearts open and were like, oh, that's our story, right? I want to warn the parents in the audience that there might be a swear word, but we will only do it one time, and we actually bleep it out the other times. But we are gonna sing it one time for emphasis about how gay we are. Here we go.
I'm freaking gay. Thank God for that. Christians cast me out, but Jesus has my back. And we're gay. Thank God for that. Christians cast us out, but Jesus has our back.
We still have to hear the whole thing. It gets worse. It just continues on, and it's just...
So let me just make one point to start, to kick things off. Whenever you hear, I think he said Christian queer or Christian gay,
something
it's
else.
An oxymoron. It is impossible, according to the biblical teaching, the biblical worldview, and God's standard. It is impossible. You call yourself a church, you better put your church in air quotes. You are not a church. So you can say, Katie, I'm a Christian murderer. I'm a Christian adulterer. I'm a Christian thief. I'm a Christian, whatever it might be, liar. No.
Nice to meet you.
No,
nice to meet you.
You cannot put those two together, but yet the gay community does. Oh, I'm a gay Christian or a Christian queer. It's impossible if you're following God's standard in the Bible.
Yeah, everything must be labeled. They're very detail-oriented here. Everything must be labeled, right? Now, this whole church is Jesus-rooted, plus justice-centered, plus radically inclusive. Plus, I don't understand what any of those words mean when you put them together, because these people don't make a lot of sense. But here's our team. We have Reverend Jonah Overton, lead pastor, they, them. Cameron Overton.
Jeez.
Interesting. Both have the same last name. Huh, wonder what that means. Executive pastor, he, him. So there's that.
Again, Reverend.
Oh, yeah.
Let's put Reverend in air quotes. Anybody can call it. It's just a title, but it doesn't mean you are following the Bible. Doesn't mean that you are teaching God's word. Doesn't mean that that building or that organization, that church, is a true church. But it's trendy. This is the way. It's rebellion. All about rebellion against God, pushing this warped ideology, this warped worldview. That's what's popular. They can get away with it now because they can be open and loud and proud because there's more public acceptance of their ideas and their cult of sexuality than there was 25 or 50 years ago. So it doesn't mean that it has anything to do with the truth. It's their version of what they interpret the Bible or Christianity to be, and they're way, way off. And I hope, Katie, I hope they don't find out the hard way, meaning die before they repent and confess their sins and receive Jesus and believe in him. He is the only way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through him. I don't know if they even mention Jesus or what they believe about Jesus, but they probably believe he's queer. And again, that's false. Again, that's so offensive.
Yeah. What's interesting, too, on this, if you put up the picture of our team, which is this Jonah and Cameron apparently were married in 2018 and present as a gay homosexual couple, but they're actually both biological women, making them, then they would be a, lesbian couple, I guess. I don't know.
Cameron is a biological woman. That's interesting.
We scored into the article, so that's why I was like, interesting of how they're whatever it is they're doing. But the fact that they wanted to preface their entire song with, "Oh my gosh, we have a curse word." I think any of the parents who were there who take their children to that church, I think that's the least of their worries in terms of what they're getting is a one word.
The curse word. They're going to let a word fly. No, it's your whole warped demonic ideology that's a concern. And the parents there obviously approve of anything and everything because anything goes, right? Once you remove God and the truth and who Jesus really is and the historical traditional church, then anything goes. And so it doesn't matter if you curse, doesn't matter if you do anything on the worship platform, and it's not worship. It is an offense to God. It is a stench in the nostrils of a holy God. And this has been a gradual progression, just a decline over the decades, Katie. And it started with the church backing out of culture and not being engaged and influencing everything from education to politics to corporations to Hollywood. The church backed out. But then you had the Supreme Court ruling 10 years ago in 2015 on same-sex marriage. And here we are today. So no surprise.
All right. And speaking of the way culture's gone, it's AI has invaded the culture too. And we're going to talk about that next because a new study finds that AI programs are being used to hire new employees and they discriminate against, white men. Of course, we are also going to speak about a college speech, the commencement address that highlights the importance of where you place your phone. So it's a lot of technology coming up next.
Catch Freedom Project's lineup of shows daily at noon Central. Starting on Monday, we have Educated. On Tuesday, we have the Dr. Duke Show with Vicki McKenna. Wednesday continues with another episode of the Dr. Duke Show with Dr. Jake Jacobs. Thursday, we have One Nation. And Friday, we wrap up the week with another episode of Educated. Catch Freedom Project's lineup of shows daily at noon Central.
Well, Katie, that previous teaser kind of offended me because I am a white male.
So there.
Yeah, wow, look at that. Most, this is the Daily Wire. Most large companies are using AI for hiring. The leading AI models discriminate against white men. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was white Christian biological males, right, that were being discriminated against. And remember, whenever you've got AI programming, things like this, someone had to enter the information and the data into whatever AI you're using. Someone had to program this, and so these modern ideas. Here we go. But let's get into the story. Of course, it discriminates against white men. Even if everything else is the same, it says, stereotypically white names are less likely to pass through. That's a quote from the article. So the global economy is no longer years, months, or weeks away from AI, this revolution. It's happening now. A lot of companies are using it apparently. And Katie, what surprises me is they're using this. Has it been tested? Do they know the bugs in this system? You know what I mean?
No, and it's the big ones that everyone is using, like Chat GPT and like certain models of it, Claude, Gemini, all of these like AI models that we've heard about here as the common folk. The companies are actually using, and again, like you said, like someone has to program this, like, or is it that the AI is now being sentient? It has come to life. We are at that point. Like, I don't know, but the stats that go along with this are kind of mind-boggling, if you will. So many people or companies, I guess, use AI to like weed out all of the applications. And it just blew my mind when I read that. I was like, how many? Apparently, at least 70% by the end of this year, they think will be using AI to weed out. And it's up to beyond that. 82% use it just for the resumes. 40% employ chat bots to communicate with your candidates. That's why I was like, I don't want to be out there getting a job because I'm going to just talk to a chat bot.
So on paper, when you're talking about resumes, weeding through the resumes and trying to weed out people, you don't have a picture of the person. You don't have a lot of background information, but their name. So they're talking about stereotypical names. I'm curious how mine would come up because I'm Italian, right? But I am a white male, white American, heterosexual, Christian male. But let's go back to what Jason Hansloy said. He's an independent AI researcher. Here's what he told the Daily Wire. He said that the AI language models favored minority candidates, even if a company's diversity pledges and statements were completely removed from the scenario. He said, again, even if everything else is the same, the resume is the same, experience the same, stereotypically white names are less likely to make it through the interview process. This is just not surprising, I guess, but it's like I guess I'm surprised so many companies are saying, yeah, well, so we're just using it. It does help us, whatever, with manpower or weed through the resumes. Going, okay, but you don't care that there's discrimination?
Wait,
Wow.
David, you could just send out a bunch of resumes and be the first one to be able to take this all the way to the Supreme Court, right? Like, let's go. Let's make some money. Anyway, speaking of technology, remember commencement addresses, speeches, all of them a whole month ago. Well, let's talk about one that had a lot of technology involved. So Angela Duckworth gave a speech at Bates College commencement back in May. She's the co-founder of Character Lab, and it's a nonprofit whose mission is to advance scientific insights that help children thrive. And so she did a little thought experiment to kick off her speech by telling everyone to put their cell phones away. And she traded her cell phone with the university president. Take a look.
Where you physically place your phone just might be one of the most consequential decisions you make. Seeing your phone and then forcing yourself to ignore it saps mental energy, leaving you with less cognitive bandwidth for the task at hand. Researchers found that when taking an IQ test, having your phone within sight, even if it's face down, lowers your score, while keeping your phone in a bag or in another room raises it. Students who keep their phone farther away while studying do better in school. The farther the phone, the higher the GPA. Willpower is overrated. In study after study, psychologists like me have found that achieving what you want out of life has very little to do with forcing yourself to act in one way or another. Relying on willpower to rescue us from digital distractions is downright foolish. So what do we use instead? Something smarter, situation modification, using physical distance to create psychological distance.
Bingo.
Yeah, makes sense. It makes sense. Get the phone out of the way and you'll do better.
And the thing is, this goes along with the same thing. Like if I'm going to be on a diet, I want to lose weight. Don't have the Cheetos in the house or the Pringles or any of the bad food. If you don't have the food in the house, situation modification. It's psychological, but you don't have to rely on your own willpower then to not go into the pantry and go grab those chips.
Well, actually, this goes back even a step further than not having them in the house. If you do have them, don't have them on the counter where they're visible. Because that's what's happening, having your cell phone right here. And that's actually a good point. So this actually helped me a little bit because sometimes moreover I'm sitting at, in the living room where my phone is handy or I can see it. You don't have to have it near you. So it's a good habit to get into again, where you put your phone on the charger in another room and you don't have to have it right next to you, right?
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. Like in her speech, if you watch the whole speech, she gives basically 6 points, and she says, here are practical strategies for how to manage your phone. And number 1 is to put your phone in another room, right? We've talked about this. But number 2 is change your sky to screen ratio. I liked how she phrased it. When you're feeling awkward, anxious, or bored, get up and walk out the door. The blue canopy above, even on this cloudy day, apparently it was cloudy when she gave the speech, well, it has no marketing department, no fancy algorithm to keep you hooked. But whoa, what an awesome alternative to the glowing blue rectangle in the palm of your hand.
Yep.
I thought that was so, you guys, get out there and see what God provided. Stop looking at a screen all day, every day.
Good stuff. That's a great point to end with. The outside, natural lighting.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. So now everyone, put your phone away. And by the way, she did get her phone back, and she had everyone in the audience change phones, and I wonder how many actually gave their phone to someone else. But everyone did get their phone back, from what I understand, based on the commencement speech. So but you should still put your phone away. All right. Well, hey, that's going to wrap up this episode of Educated. We will be back again next Monday with David Fiorazzo. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for supporting what we do. Until next time, stay educated.